Leading a project means engaging with stakeholders, a diverse group of individuals, including project sponsors, team members, customers, end users, regulators, suppliers, and anyone interested in the project. You will gain insights into managing and engaging stakeholders throughout the entire project lifecycle, understanding how to manage their expectations, requirements, and concerns. As mentioned, you will need to interact with various stakeholders during a project. It is important to know that early and effective engagement with these stakeholders will contribute to the project's successful completion. Your project stakeholders may include both internal and external parties, ranging from project sponsors to end users, including others with varying levels of power and influence that may change as the project progresses. Engaging your stakeholders will be an ongoing process throughout the project's life cycle, as their commitment and influence may vary through different stages of the project. Let's explore a three-step approach outlined by the Project Management Institute, or PMI, which you can use to engage your stakeholders successfully. These steps are building the stakeholder map, prioritizing key stakeholders, and developing key stakeholders. Using this approach will aid structured engagement with your stakeholders and ensure the success of the project. In your early stages of engagement, you will work on the first part of this approach with building the stakeholder map. The process of building a stakeholder map will involve creating a visual representation of all relevant stakeholders involved in your project. This is usually an interactive activity and is typically carried out in a workshop setting where participants work together to identify and categorize stakeholders based on their level of interest and influence. It is important to have an experienced facilitator who can guide the process effectively, which you can do as the project leader. The second part of the three-step approach will be prioritizing your stakeholders. For any project to succeed, the project teams must take the time to identify and understand each stakeholder involved. You and your project team should create personalized plans for each stakeholder that outline the steps they need to take to demonstrate a visible commitment to the project's success. At this stage, you may use the power interest grid in plotting your project stakeholders relative to their power and interest in the project. In the final part of the three-step approach, you will work on developing your key stakeholders. It is essential to not only recognize your critical stakeholders, but also to create strategies that guarantee that they perform their duties and obligations, taking into account their position as well as their power and influence as identified during the project through mapping. So, how do you ensure that you gain insights into managing stakeholders throughout the project lifecycle? It is recommended you give due consideration to the needs and perspectives of all stakeholders involved. This approach can provide valuable insights that you can incorporate into your project plan. It is important to continuously manage this approach to ensure that the project plan remains up to date and informed by the changing dynamics of the situation. The PMBOK highlights the importance of monitoring your stakeholders, which will influence how your engagement levels will be structured throughout the project. As a project progresses, new stakeholders may be identified, and the attitude, power, or influence of existing stakeholders may change. It's important to continuously identify and analyze stakeholders, assess the effectiveness of your current engagement levels, and alter your communications plans appropriately. This monitoring helps to ensure that stakeholder engagement is effective throughout the project and that you understand requirements even as they change. How would you know if your stakeholder communications plan and subsequent outputs were not meeting your stakeholder needs? On a practical day-to-day level, unexpected requests for information, slide decks, or reports, for example, may arise. If you are finding that there are high levels of these ad hoc requests, it may indicate that the initial communication planning was not thorough enough to meet stakeholder needs. In such cases, it may be necessary to engage with stakeholders further to ensure that their information requirements are met. Engaging with stakeholders throughout the entire project lifecycle ensures that you manage stakeholder expectations, requirements, and concerns effectively. By recognizing the diverse range of stakeholders and understanding their varying levels of power and influence, you can tailor and structure engagement strategies, ultimately contributing to positive project outcomes.